This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Tuesday, February 16th. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo under fire from Republicans and Democrats over his handling of the COVID crisis in nursing homes in his state, with critics claiming cover-up. Remaking the Supreme Court, President Joe Biden appointing a commission to examine judicial reform, with some groups pushing for expanding the number of justices. Troubles between the Biden administration and Israel. The new president has yet to reach out to the Israeli leadership, the first president in several decades not to do so. And we're going to hear from a former porn star and her husband, a pastor, on the importance of living a pure life. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN Newswatch. I want to begin this half hour in New York with Governor Andrew Cuomo under mounting pressure to answer questions about his administration's handling of COVID-19 in nursing homes. But his explanation in yesterday's news conference only outraged state officials and families who lost loved ones. The governor saying his administration was honest in reporting of COVID numbers at nursing homes, but conceding.
I understand the public had many questions and concerns, and the press had many questions about nursing homes primarily. And I understand that they were not answered quickly enough.
The actual number of long-term patients who died of the virus in New York turned out to be much higher than the state's official tally. In a phone call with New York State Democrats, Cuomo's secretary admitted his office withheld information on the number of COVID-19 nursing home deaths because they were afraid it would be used against them in a Justice Department investigation. Last March, Cuomo issued a mandate allowing some 9,000 COVID-positive patients into nursing homes. Families want to know if their loved ones could have been saved. Fox News' Janice Dean lost both of her in-laws and has been speaking out about Cuomo for months. She's calling for an independent, bipartisan investigation into the Cuomo administration's handling.
He is a liar. He just continues to lie and deflect and blame everyone else. I am calling on every single lawmaker in Albany and also on the federal level. Do you not see what is happening right now? Do you not care about all of the people in New York State that want to find out why their loved ones died in nursing homes? He didn't follow the science. You don't put infected patients into nursing homes. That is the bottom line, Governor.
Democratic Assemblywoman Alessandria Biaggi tweeted, "To New Yorkers watching Cuomo's news conference, it is riddled with lies, theater, and deflection. Calls for the governor to resign are growing, and lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are demanding action against him." The head of the World Health Organization says all theories are still open about the origins of COVID-19, which could include the possibility that it emerged from a lab in Wuhan, China. A World Health Organization fact-finding team in China said last week that the possibility was extremely unlikely. But the head of the WHO said at the end of the week, all hypotheses on the origin of the virus remain open. Back here at home, extreme cold is posing a new threat to people across the South as millions of Americans are without power, and the region's power grid is at risk of failing. Those who haven't lost power are being asked to conserve their energy, and power officials in Texas and 14 other states using controlled rolling blackouts in an effort to save the grid, something that's never happened before.
It's cold. Kids around, trying to stay warm, fireplace, there's no firewood anywhere, no stores open.
Administrators say new generation power sources like wind turbines have completely frozen over and been taken offline, and even more traditional power generation methods have started to fail in the ultra-cold temperatures. Travel conditions also remain a problem as many areas have solid layers of ice coating roadways. In Tennessee, a pickup truck pulls out of a driveway and then slides sideways down the street. In Mississippi, at least 5 8-wheelers involved in this pileup. And in Texas, a man standing by an SUV barely escapes after a second car came flying down an embankment. The free speech platform Parler, which was forced offline last month, saying it's relaunching. The Twitter alternative has been struggling to return to since Amazon took it took off its web hosting services. Google and Apple also removed Parler's app from their stores. They all claim Parler allowed posts inciting violence. Parler says it will remove threatening or inciting content. The service is supposed to be back for current users this week, and new users can sign up next week. Parler also says it will not be reliant on big tech. One prediction that as president, Joe Biden would move to possibly change the U.S. Supreme Court is possibly coming true. He has named a commission to study judicial reform. A number of groups are taking that much further. One effort called Urging the Courts seeks to both increase the number of justices and impose term limits on them as well. Paul Strand talked with legal scholars who see a big problem with this direction.
Democrats complained throughout Donald Trump's presidency that the Supreme Court had been stolen as he added 1, 2, then 3 justices during his time in office. Now, many of these Democrats feel they have the power to seat at least 6 new permanent justices. That could result in 2 for each Trump pick.
If it's one stolen seat, from a progressive point of view, packing the court by 2 seats might feel like the only thing that's somehow adequate to remedy the injury.
A majority of the Democrats' presidential candidates campaigned to pack the court. Constitutional expert and author of Supreme Disorder, Ilya Shapiro, labels their real motive as taking control of the court.
Court packing has come to mean adding seats to the Supreme Court for partisan reasons, for ideological gain.
To, issue opinions that are pleasing to the, policy and political agendas of the people who will have packed the court.
The Heritage Foundation's John Malcolm says that would lead to real damage.
Once you start down that road, you have completely eviscerated the independence of the judiciary, and that is a very dangerous development.
Professor Braver also sees the potential harm.
Its distinct danger is that it unleashes a tit-for-tat downward spiral of packing. I pack, you pack, I pack, you pack, ballooning the court's size so large that its legitimacy pops.
Judicial independence does get destroyed. This may be welcomed by some people on both right and left who think, well, the real problem with the judiciary is they strike down too many laws and regulations. So if we intimidate the judiciary into submission, then the world will be a better place.
But all this could turn the much respected Supreme Court into just another bunch of politicians,
which is not much more than a lapdog of whichever party controls the White House and the 2 houses of Congress.
It's not that Congress or the presidency have this great respect and they want to pull the court up to their level. In fact, this would indeed drag the court further down into the muck, into the toxic cloud that's enveloped all of our discourse in Washington.
Joe Biden is following through on a campaign promise regarding courts by setting up a commission to study judicial reform. Why?
President Biden said at one point that he's not a fan of court packing, but that the courts are somehow out of whack.
One of the more accepted reforms might be imposing 18-year term limits on the justices.
That would get rid of, for example, these morbid health watches over octogenarian justices or politically timed retirements, arbitrary vacancies as they arise.
I'm less bothered by it because that would be more ideologically neutral, if you will.
There would be a vacancy on the Supreme Court every 2 years, and it would eliminate these vagaries where vacancies depend on chance, like whether a particular justice gets sick and passes away or retires.
But whatever reforms Biden's commission proposes may come to nothing.
These commissions are what politicians use to kick the can down the road. So hopefully 6 months from now, it won't be such a burning issue and they can safely ignore whatever report comes out.
Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
The president and CEO of the Hallmark Channel says that he wants to show its support for the LGBT community and promised to make that clearer in the upcoming season. Deadline reports Wanya Lucas, the head of Crown Media, said the cable channel will expand its storylines to feature more LGBTQ characters. Another Hallmark executive said it's been, quote, a big priority for the company to focus on showing different kinds of diversity. A former Planned Parenthood employee is speaking out about the organization's transgender activism. The ex-staffer recently spoke anonymously with the Wall Street Journal contributor and author Abigail Shrier. She said her job at Planned Parenthood involved providing hormone prescriptions to teen girls who identify as boys. She testified no doctors were present to evaluate the girls at the clinic where she worked, and they were not always accompanied by a parent. The worker also said the clinic manager who handled treatments of testosterone and other hormones had no prior medical experience, and many children being treated had suffered emotional and mental abuse. As the transgender movement becomes more publicly acceptable, one man is standing up to say that Jesus can change anyone and heal anyone. Jeffrey McCall once lived as a transgender woman. He told CBN's The Prayer Link, young teens struggling with their identity need to know the truth of the gospel to be set free.
I think that people that are hurt and people that are deceived are being used by the enemy in the LGBTQ community and in Hollywood to push things that are anti-God. I don't think it's the people in those communities that we should be against, though. I definitely think it's the spirit behind it, and it's a spirit of Antichrist. It doesn't want to confess Jesus as Lord and to be your own God and do your own thing. So I think we have to tackle the spiritual aspect to make any move in lowering all this that has been pushed on our children.
And to see more from this interview, you can catch the Prayer Link this evening at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, problems ahead for relations between the Biden administration and Israel. We're going to bring you the latest from Jerusalem. When we come back, stay with us.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
President Biden has set a remarkable precedent. He's the first president in 40 years or more not to reach out to Israel soon after entering the White House. The Washington Free Beacon reports that every president since at least Ronald Reagan began in 1981 has made calls or overtures to Israel in their first days in office. With us now from Jerusalem for more on this is our Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. So, Chris, the paper also reported that Biden has hired several people with what they call a background in anti-Israel activism. Is there concern in Israel about the Biden administration's attitude toward the country and the relationship over the next 4 years?
Very much of a deep concern right here, Ephraim. Let's two of those anti-Israel advocates right now that are part of the Biden administration. The first one, Robert Malley, he negotiated the Iranian nuclear deal, something over here in Israel they don't like at all. Mahir Bitar, he organized boycotts of Israel in his youth, and now he's on the White House National Security Council. And even though he was against Israel, that didn't disqualify him. And talking about the phone calls, Ephraim, you know, President Biden Biden has already called Vladimir Putin in Russia the Chinese leader. And going back to many of these presidents, even Barack Obama called Netanyahu on his first day. So obviously over here, they're interpreting this cold shoulder by Biden in a very alarming way. And on the other hand, he's also taken steps towards the Palestinians. He plans to resume aid to the Palestinian Authority. He's already reopened the Palestinian Authority in office, the office in Washington, D.C., something the Trump administration had already closed. And yet Netanyahu is still waiting for that call. One columnist over here put it this way: Israel will have to navigate their ship of state through what they call a Biden storm.
White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki wouldn't say if the administration considers Israel and Saudi Arabia important allies. How did that go over in Jerusalem?
Stunning. They really thought it was stunning that the press secretary of the President of the United States would not even admit that Israel and Saudi Arabia were allies, something that Israel and the United States have been allies since 1948. Somebody said to me, a commentator said, it really wasn't a rookie mistake by the press secretary. She's been there a long time. She's been doing that for a long time. So the question is, what lies behind this? And it seems to be sending a signal to Israel and Netanyahu, as well to Saudi Arabia, that the Middle East, in terms of the United States, is tilting back to pre-Trump days towards Iran and away from Israel. So traditional allies like Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states are going to have to be very wary of what's happening right now with the Biden administration.
Chris, what about Iran? How does Israel feel about Biden's attempts to re-enter the Iran nuclear deal?
Well, of all the issues right now, Ephraim, whether it's the Palestinians or these appointees by the Biden administration, the Iranian nuclear deal is a #1 concern. They see the 2015 JCPOA, the nuclear deal, was a disaster that gave billions of dollars to Iran, that fed their Middle East terror network. It allowed them to remain a nuclear power. You know, before that deal, the UN said that Iran shouldn't even be a nuclear power. And so this provides an existential threat to Israel. And even some would say Western civilization. You can go back to Iran's rhetoric. You know, they call Israel the little Satan. They call America the big Satan. So over here, the Iranian nuclear deal is a #1 concern.
Biden has said positive things about the Abraham Accords peace agreements between Israel and Muslim countries brokered by the Trump administration. But will he allow them to stay in place or try to add to them? What are your thoughts?
Well, that's a great question right now, Ephraim, and a lot of people here in Israel and the whole Middle East are wondering that. Antony Blinken, the new Secretary of State, he has praised them, but the question right now, a lot of people are asking, will they advance them? Will they take on what the Trump administration has built and keep going and have more countries? Based on what we've just discussed, it really does seem unlikely right now.
All right, Chris Mitchell, Middle East Bureau Chief, thank you so much for your time. As always, much appreciated. Still ahead, a look at some ancient remedies for modern ailments. Some come from Asia or the Middle East, and they can be traced all the way back to Father Abraham. We'll explain what they are and how they work right after this.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN NewsWatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come with...
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Ancient remedies for modern ailments. It's a growing trend in medicine today. Herbs, supplements, essential oils, and foods are used to treat around 75 conditions. Some of these natural treatments can be traced all the way back to Father Abraham. So exactly what are they? Medical reporter Lori Johnson explains.
Since its inception, many have called modern medicine a gift from God. Sometimes, however, we look back to the treatments of our ancestors.
Up until 150 years ago, when somebody used the word medicine, it typically didn't mean a synthetic medicine. It typically meant an herb or spice like ginger or frankincense and all of these things that are referenced in the Bible today. That's what we meant by medicine.
In his new book, Ancient Remedies, Dr. Josh Axe recommends herbs, supplements, essential oils, and foods to treat about 75 different conditions.
For instance, if somebody is struggling with hypothyroidism, I go through those top 5 herbs so people know exactly what to do. If somebody has Alzheimer's, I go through what to do. If somebody has inflammation, heart disease, diabetes, chronic pain, hormone imbalance, I go through all of those things in there.
Some date back to the dawn of civilization.
But actually, it's believed that Abraham actually taught a lot of these natural ways of healing using different herbs and foods to support healing. And that actually is the basis of Chinese or different types of Asian medicine.
Many of us are okay with medicines that are made in a lab, but if given the choice, might prefer something a little more natural. Man-made drugs often began as imitations of their natural counterparts.
For instance, take white willow bark. That's where they got the idea for aspirin. White willow bark helps naturally thin the blood, reduces pain naturally, is anti-inflammatory. Well, aspirin is actually taken from that, but these pharmaceutical companies wanted to save money, so they started making it themselves that are synthetic.
As we've reported, that process can result in side effects like nutritional deficiencies.
Diabetes drugs actually pull coenzyme Q10 from your body and certain other B vitamins. So if you're on a diabetic drug, it increases your risk of a heart attack and stroke. If you have taken an antibiotic drug, it kills the good bacteria in your body, those probiotics, and it also depletes your body of zinc.
Dr. Axe maintains, regardless of the disease, the first step towards healing involves building a better gut, since that's where most of our immune system resides.
The foods that are most healing to the gut, number one is bone broth. The reason being, bone broth is made up of 90% collagen, and your gut itself is made up of around 70% collagen. So you have to have collagen in order for it to heal.
What to avoid?
Pretty much gluten, dairy, and sugar are the things that will most weaken our immune systems.
We can also boost our body's defenses by balancing hormones, lowering stress, and getting a good night's sleep. He says, believe it or not, marijuana's sober cousin, CBD, can do all 3.
So there's 2 main compounds found in hemp, which are CBD and THC. THC is that sort of, that's that compound that can cause hallucinogenic effects where people hear about getting high. CBD is a completely different compound.
So while drug companies churn out their pills, Dr. Josh Axe points to nature and describes how we, like people centuries before us, can use the remedies there to cure what ails us. Lori Johnson, CBN News.
Coming up, she's a former porn star who was married to a pastor, and now they're encouraging Christians to live a pure life God's way by His grace. We're going to hear what they have to say when we come back. Stay with us.
Having sex before you're married is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
A former porn star, now turned minister, is encouraging Christians to live a pure life. Brittany De La Mora was in the porn industry for 7 years. She told CBN News after becoming a Christian, she married a pastor, and today they pastor XXX Church, ministering to people about the dangers of pornography while encouraging them to live a pure life. Her husband, Richard, says lust takes, but love gives, and that purity is not just no sex before marriage. It's a lifestyle of having a pure heart and mind. And Brittany acknowledges it is hard and not easy. But she says with God, all things are possible. You can hear more of their advice for singles and see their interview at cbnnews.com. It is time now for your Tuesday Tweetable. This is a message I pray will inspire you and move you to post, tag, tweet, and share with those who follow and are connected to you. Keep your curiosity strong and dig deeper daily to know more about your Creator. God stands ready to reveal more of Himself. The deeper you dive, the more revelation rises to the surface. With that word, I encourage you to make today a terrific Tuesday. That will do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Thank you so much for watching. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. The address is right there on your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye. God bless.
D.C. Uncompromising stories, interviews, and analysis from veteran journalists David Brody.
It's a 50-50 deadlock pretty much in the Senate.
Jenna Browder.
Meanwhile, doctors believe the newly discovered California variant is behind a massive wave of new cases.
Ben Kennedy.
He is sworn in as the 46th president.
Bringing you the political news that matters.
We're people who are committed to protecting the most weakest and the most vulnerable.
Watch Faith Nation, weeknights at 6.